with no damage to that car, what is clearly a very fast car. So if he can just sort of pull himself together now, be a little bit more circumspect in the as we go back to green, he's certainly got an opportunity to put himself into.
So an exciting first lap with the pole sitter in GS, and overall firing the car off the track. Russell Ward making a mistake, the pole sitter in TCR with an ECU problem, as reported by Shea Adam, our VP Racing Fuel pit lane reporter. And that car has, however, got out. Just checking to see when Max Falker's back in the pit lane now, and they're still working on that car. It did come out and do a lap, but not all of the lap. Or not the second lap, should I say, and I think it's back in there now. So the Virginia is for Racing Lovers Grand Prix off to an inauspicious start behind the safety car. Shea Adam is our VP Racing Fuel pit and paddock reporter. Any further updates from the Fast MD Racing Audi, which should have started on pole position? Just remind us what went wrong there.
Nothing back from the team yet. Last I heard was that they needed to replace an ECU, so they were trying to get it done before the green flag came out. The car has now gone back from the pit lane. As you said, this is their third trip to the pits in the race, and or second trip to the pit, and they've only completed 2 laps. So it's been a difficult day so far, but I am trying to get a hold of James Vance. So James, if you can hear me on the pit wall, please text me back, please.
Hello to everybody listening in on the very effective PA around the VIR circuit. And there goes the Fast MD health car. Liquid Molly supported number 23 Audi, the distinctive 4-cylinder rasp of that inline turbocharged 2-litre engine. So by my reckoning, Jeremy, they are still right on the end of the lead lap in TCR. So they've actually done a pretty good job. That's their second lap. They got out before the safety truck came around. I'm not sure I can call a BMW a truck, actually. It's an SUV. It's an X5M competition, actually, so it's fairly tasty. But I think they've managed to stay on the end of the lead lap in TCR, Jeremy. Good work. Using a bit of stock car and oval type tactics there. Do some of the work, bring it back in, do the rest of the work, and get it out again.
Yeah, if that's the case, certainly got to hope now that it can run cleanly and he can run around quickly and either come into the pits again if he needs some more work, or rejoin at the back of the field. He's got almost 3 miles to make up, so he's going to have to get a move on here. But we're certainly not going to be going green, I don't think, for another lap or 2. The last time we saw, there was still the safety car lights are still on. Well, they probably wouldn't go off until later in the lap, actually, but it looked like they were still getting those 2 cars out of the way. So I think it will be given another opportunity to get a number 23 car running the way it should be.
So if you are just joining us on IMSA TV, you've missed absolutely nothing at all other than the pole sitters hitting trouble one before we even got out to the formation lap, and one, well, really before we got round the first corner. Here's how they stand behind the safety car at the moment as they're going through the climbing S's. It's Turner Motorsport and Robbie Foley that leads for BMW in the number 95 car. Multimatic Ford Mustang in second for Scott Maxwell, the number 22. The 60 is Nick Stacey for Core Motorsports and the Aston Martin. Then the Audi of Carbon, Tyler McQuarrie, the 39. That's the dark grey car. Archangel Motorsports are next with their very, very bright highlighter yellow Porsche 718 Cayman GT4. Alan Brynjolfsson behind the wheel of the number 7. Then the Mercedes of Riley Motorsports, that's the number 35 car, and that means the top 6 are 6 different manufacturers before we get to first. Pete from Team Hardpoint, the number 30 Audi RS GT4, Rob Furriol driving that. Murillo Racing and Jeff Mosing is in 8th with the 56. That's the Tangerine Mercedes AMG GT4. Sheena Monk has moved up to 9th in the Motorsports in Action, or the MIA McLaren 570S GT4. That's the number 3, and making up the top 10, BGB. It's BGB actually, but just reminds me of well-known fashion outlet in France, VGB. Porsche 718 Cayman GT4, and that number 38 car winds up the top 10. So it's been a bit of a change and a shuffle around as well in TCR, because without the Audi, it's become a Brian Herder Autosport with Curb Agajani and Hyundai Velosterfest, with Gabby Chavez in the 33, leading Mike Lewis in the 98, leading Harry Gottsacker in the 21. Chris Miller is the first non-Hyundai and must feel a little bit outnumbered in his Honda Civic TCR number 37, because he's got another two Velosters sitting behind him. Alex Papadopoulos from 47 Motorsport in the 47, and then the Brian Herder Autosport Hyundai number 29. Then it's the Audi of Michael Johnson in the JDC Miller Motorsports 54. Then Mike Lamara in the next of the Hondas, the 73. Then Gavin Ernston in the Roadshagger Racing Audi, that's the 61 dark grey car. Max Faulkner, Fast MD, should have been on pole, back into the pits again as we go back to green. So he's going to drop a lap now as we go back to green flag racing. Across the line they go, lovely restart. That takes BMW. The battle is between a couple of front engine cars behind him. So the top three, all front engine cars. The first of the mid-engines, Exotics, is in fourth position. One, Hurricane Racing, the Audi RS-GT4 at Tyler McQuarrie. Lovely restart by Turner Motorsport and Robbie Morley. Jeremy Shaw, exactly what you'd expect from Robbie. Didn't let the pressure get to him, more to his advantage.
Indeed, so perhaps not the Alan Grignol, the fifth position in car number 7. It is pretty left to qualify yesterday. So the point was the first thing this morning for Alan Grignol to put that car 7th on the grid. That car did super fast this weekend, as has the other Porsche 718 Cayman, number 38 car, which Jan Hayden will drive later on. So Alan Grignol has put that car in a good position now. And he's been working super hard with Trent Hinman, his regular co-driver for the series champion, of course, with that Archangel Motorsports team. And goal for Grignol to bring that car number 7 back to the pits after his first stint in a good position, nice and clean. Exactly what Grignol is doing at the moment. Doesn't have a lot of experience in this sport, doing a fabulous job in that very distinctive car. Position.
Autosport Hyundai Veloster, Spencer Brookman behind the wheel of that car. What you got, Shea?
We saw some white smoke coming out of the left rear of that car under the safety car situation. The team is evaluating whether or not the tire has some sort of an issue, so they're trying to figure out if they need to bring it in. But right now, it is the last of the Hyundais running out on track in the fifth position of the Hyundai Cup.
Hyundai Sunday Cup, that is what that is running in at the moment. I like that. That's the green, or the white and green car that Shea was talking about. Robbie Fawley goes through, starting to get down to business now and begin to get into his rhythm as the Michelin tyres come up to temp and pressure. A 1:56.7 the best time for Robbie last time around. 2 minutes 0.9 for Gabby Chavez, who leads TCR. Those are the two best class leading times at the moment. Alan Brynjolfsson staying out of trouble. 5th position for him for Archangel Motorsport in the bright yellow Volt number 7 Cayman. That car is one that you never miss. Glance onto the screen and you always see that one. So Jeremy Shaw has a little more news on that number 7 car.
Yeah, no, that was the car I was talking about. The super job he has done there, and he's not losing out much at all, is he, to those top 4? And the Audi, 4 different cars there. Brynjolfsson makes it 5 in the Audi, and then Rob Ferriol is also doing a fine job in the team Harper in Audi. He also had his best grade qualifying. 6th position in 10th position. They start race now up into 6th. Number 31 team Harper in Audi.
So the race beginning to settle down, and ahead of the BMW, Aston Martin, and then the first of that second car, that would be the Turner Motorsport BMW, second Turner cars, then Gabby Chavez in the white red, number 30 in the race, leading the Veloster. No, 2 doors on the driver's side, on the passenger side, excuse me, is it is for the US, the right-hand side of the car. Only one door on the driver's side on the left, but it qualifies as a TCR because you have to have either 4 or 5 doors to be legal for a TCR, but that can include the hatchback. So 1 long door on the driver's side, 2 normal sized doors on the passenger side, and a hatchback, so the velocity's in as per the rules of TCR. Just over 15 minutes completed then, and nothing between the runners in the sharp end of the field or indeed in TCR at the moment in the sunshine at VIR. 32 degrees Celsius in the air, which a bit pleasant, a little bit hotter than that on the track, 33 degrees, so that's getting on towards just over 90 degrees on the Fahrenheit scale on the track. And there's another spinner, it's the automatic racing car, the Aston Martin that's gone around. I should say it's the 99 Aston Martin that has gone around. So that is Charlie Putman, who was running in the just outside the top 10 for the invisible glass car. That was turn number 4. He has managed to get that car pointing in the right direction. Don't see too much damage, but he was in a pack of cars, so anything is possible at that point. Now here's the issue we're talking about in Countdown to Green, Jeremy Shaw. We've got the leading TCRs in behind the cars at the back of the GS field, and in the twisty bits, particularly going into the fast end of turn 11 before Prix at 12, the Hyundai Velocitas are as quick, if not quicker, than the bigger GS cars. They don't have the same outright speed because they don't have the grunt, and that means it's a problem for Gavin Chavez. He's now having to defend not only against the second and third place cars in TCR, but he's trying to drive around some of the GS runners as well.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult for those group of cars. There's 4 or 5 cars at the back of the GS field that are getting swallowed up by the TCR leaders. Meanwhile, TCR pulls back into that kind of a 23 in the Class MG Audi. What a disappointing start to the race for them. But also Michael Johnson, who also started on the front, he got shuffled way back at the start. He's making excellent progress. He's up into 4th position in TCR in kind of a 15.
If you're watching and listening, hello to Sarah Rigby. Try that link again, Sarah. I've just tried it. It's fine on the Radio Le Mans link for the video. At RSL, at Radio is where we are at the moment. Declan Brennan tuned in as well, one of the army of media types who are able to do their work from the track at the moment, and who is helping so much for us to do our work, because we're not allowed in the paddock either, of course, due to social distancing regulations. Right, Jeremy, what's going on at the front of the field? Foley, absolutely metronomic at the front of the field. Another quick lap, 157, second there.
Yes, that was the new fastest lap of the race set by Robbie Fowler last time round. He had to. The previous lap it was Scott Maxwell. He also went quicker again on this previous lap, 1:55.9, but 2/10 of a second. Robbie Foley able to inch away, but there seems to be nothing to choose really between these top 4 cars in the early stages. So they're very closely matched, and Alan Brynjolfsson hanging on there. He's fallen 3 or 4 or 5 seconds back there, but still he's got everybody else. I mean, made that mistake at the start. Russell Ward has charged his way back to the 11th spot. Now he's in 6th position.
It's Jeremy Shaw who's joining me in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Problems for the 47 Hyundai Veloster. That's the grey and orange car, and that is Alex Papadopoulos. Maybe that was my crystal ball earlier on when I said Alex was in trouble. Sorry, Alex, that's my fault. Hashtag blame Hindy. That 47 Motorsports car, maybe a bit of a Control-Alt-Delete on the back straight, because he has got that car rolling again as he heads up the first of 2 quite steep inclines away from the secondary pits that's over there, the school pits effectively. Let's see if he can get that one back to the pit lane. Meantime, Spencer Brockman has put the fastest lap in TCR with a 1:59.20 form. What sort of race lap record should we be looking for, Jeremy? Because it's not bad conditions out there today. We might see people making one or two improvements.
Yeah, it's pretty hot, I think. They're going to struggle to maybe match the lap records, but the GS lap record was set last year by Ross Gunn. One-off appearance in the Aston Martin AMR Advantage. It won 52.7 is the race lap record for GS, and in TCR the race lap record was 156.
Not expecting any rain today for the hour and 40 of this race. There is a weather front that's holding a little bit of potential precipitation at bay at the moment. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us. Great looking racetrack, fabulous looking race. At the sharp end of the field, the Motorcraft Ford Mustang in second place is fighting off Nate Stacey. That's Scott Maxwell and Nate Stacey battling. They've dropped about a second behind the blue and yellow Turner Motorsport BMW. As they disappear through turn 3 and towards the sharp left at turn 4. Turn 3 often known as NASCAR corner, not just because it's a left-handed turn. Many years ago, the very interesting history of VIR, and in the early days of NASCAR road racing here, some very illustrious names didn't get much further than turn 3. It claimed a lot of big scalps. So turn 3 came from. I don't think there was quite as much runoff there in those days either, although as we've been mentioning over the weekend, and bears mentioning again if you're joining us for the first time, this track was carved out at the end of the 1950s, in the 1950s should I say, by a group of enterprising locals. And when I say carved out, they got themselves effectively on an earth mover, a bulldozer with a blade on the front, and drove around and raced out what they thought would be a big racetrack in the across the green area that we have here. It follows the contours of the local landscape, and that's what gives it so much character. And for all the improvements, and my goodness, there's been plenty of improvements down through the years here, particularly since 2000 when it reopened. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Corrigan. Thank you, team, for all of those improvements. What hasn't changed, what didn't need to change, was effectively the circuit itself. The surface has been upgraded, and there's been little bits of extra runoff, notably at turn 12, of course, on the exit of turn 12 at Oaktree. The character of this circuit has remained. That's what makes it so good. It's easy to say old school, but sometimes that comes up the wrong ideas, doesn't it? Because there's nothing old-fashioned about this circuit. It's just challenging, and all the facilities are top class. Well done to all concerned, and hopefully we'll see you properly in the near future. Dark grey number 61, running 8th, Gavin Ernstone for Roadshagger Racing. Sitting in elegant isolation at the moment as he crests the top of the rise. Another fastest lap for Brockman, gets the TCR lap time down to a 58.6. The head of the field of 55.2. As Robbie Foley goes even quicker in the 95 BMW. Jeremy, before I anticipate the race to begin at IMSA Radio, what are we expecting as far as pit stops and how many stops it will take for the GS and the TCR cars? Oh, hang on a second, I'll come back. Gavin Ernstone has got a left front puncture, and that's why he was in elegant isolation, but he has got it back to the pit lane. She'll keep an eye on that. What are we expecting in terms of more standard pit stops than the one that Gavin's doing at the moment?
Yeah, I think we should be able to make it on 2 pit stops during this race. The first one will be 45 minutes or a little bit after that. That is the minimum drive time. This is a pro-am category, so there's a pro driver and an am driver. It has to be the lesser experienced drivers, at least in TCR, that starts this race. Start whoever you like, in actual fact, so scratch that comment. As we see that pit stop taking place on the 61 car. But every driver has for example, Alan Rignoff, as quickly as you possibly can. Russell Ward, and he's now coming under a little bit of pressure from Jim Cox. And then he's battling down for 6th and 7th positions. Jim Cox has made up a couple of places after laps.
Shit.
A left front tire change only for Gavin Ernstone, who with his co-driver John Morley were looking for a very strong finish here last year when a big accident actually brought those hopes to an end. So they're hoping to head down and get Gavin the rest of his drive time before handing over to John. Another Audi that's been struggling with issues all day is the Fast MD car. They did change the ECU, but it is still a sensor issue that's plaguing that car. So Max Foster's back in the pit lane. The 23 has only completed 3 laps of this race, and they are still working with Audi to try and fix whatever's plaguing that car.
Yeah, and with that VP Racing Fuel pit report coming down to 90 minutes to go. Our prediction, if it stays green, and there's another hashtag blame Hindy, is this will be a 40-4-0 lap race. It will be a 51 lap race. So that means 40 to go. So start thinking about how you're going to break that up. That's what the teams will be doing. They run the software as well. They'll be breaking it all up as the battle for 2nd and 3rd continues, and looks to be as though the Aston Martin has managed to sneak ahead of Scott Maxwell. And the carbon car is right up the tailpipes of Scott Maxwell as well. Let's just confirm that visually as they come across the start-finish line. Yeah, Nate Stacey does go through in 2nd. The Ford Mustang GT4 now 3rd, so a position made up there, Jeremy, that time around by Nate Stacey.
Yeah, and he's got to hurry on first. Nate Stacey went fully. He's just set a new fastest lap of race, although behind him, back up into 5th place now is Russell Ward. He has just gone purple. 1:55.023 for Russell Ward. He's trying to chase down Tyler McMurray, who's at the tail end of that lead. Three car battle for 2nd place now. Stacey ahead of Maxwell, then McQuarrie in 4th position. Russell Ward is 5.5 seconds behind that battle, but in the 5th position in the pole position car.
TCR Gaggle heading down to the first corner, and Gavin Ernst has just come out in front of that scrap, which includes the number 98 2nd place car. Right in behind them, Harry Gottsagger in the 21, that's the black Dave Veloster. So Gavin with a bit of rear guard action. The leader, I think, has already gone past him. Yes, he has. He's on the road. Chavez has pulled out a handy lead, having got past a couple of the GS cars on the track. He's now actually put 18th overall. He's just put his fastest first sector of the race in, which is just going to be in the first sector than the next 2 GS cars ahead of him. This is Rob Furriol and Vin Barletta. So just underlining, Jeremy, what we're seeing about how quick those TCR cars are in the twistings.
Yeah, that's right. But there's a great battle going on that one. The TCR class for 2nd place in the class. As you say, Gabby Chavez making his escape, and the other cars are all battling there with Harvey in the 09 Automatic Racing Aston, who's a lot quicker on the straights, but not nearly as quick through the corners. So that's a hurdle for those TCR cars to overcome.
Out of the hairpin at the far end of the circuit. Right in there, the number 54, the dark red JDC Miller Motorsports Audi RS3. Trying to keep those Mondays honest. Got Tucker at the 21. Behind the light blue team car. Sitting ahead of him, back loose. Chavez nearly 5 seconds up the road. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's because a new fastest lap in the race there by the 2nd place car. Now, Nate Stacey responds at 55.018. And Nate Stacey said the lap record could be quicker than 52.7 for Ross Gunn last year. But Nate Stacey now has got past Scott Maxwell and pulling away rapidly in 2nd place.
Robbie Foley, another good lap from him. But that gap, remember this, 2.5 seconds in Stacey on attack mode. Dragging with him Scott Maxwell and Tyler McQuarrie. 6 seconds between the top four, and another 3 seconds further back for the recovery Russell Ward of Winwood Racing in that dark grey number 4 Mercedes AMG GT. Then Nick Gallant in the Riverworld BMW, the number 8, that's your top 6, and they're under 20 seconds. Plenty of racing still to go here at the Michelin Pilot Challenge in VIR. At IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch with us, by the way. Sorry, Jeremy.
Who's got down to 154.717, so he's continuing to close on Tyler McQuarrie. Watching this battle now, Tyler McQuarrie has found a going, I think, at turn 1 on this lap. So now the Audi comes to 39, Scott Maxwell fading to 4th, closing him quite quickly is Russell Ward in that pole sitting Mercedes for Winwood Racing.
Gavin Chavez now up to 18th position, leading the TCRs. Lewis, Gonzaga, Bromwich, they're all Hyundais. Johnson, the first of the Audis. We started this race with a bit of safety car, so it will push the fuel window just a little bit. Had half an hour of racing, and it's Turner Motorsport that leads by 2 seconds. Robbie Bowling making the most of his opportunity and a good restart as well after that first safety car intervention from Stacey McQuarrie. Another 5 seconds further back in car, but then Maxwell half a second away. And Russell Ward, the man charging at the moment, as Jeremy said. Russell can be a bit of an enigma sometimes, Jeremy. There's no doubt about his speed and his consistency, particularly early in his career, was not there, but he had very little racing experience when he came into David Bolton, wasn't it, who brought Russell and his dad Bryce into the pro ranks and was working very hard with them. I do see an improvement in Russell's driving, his concentration levels, and most importantly his consistency, and that's, you know, that's not the worst thing. If you've got someone that's fast, it's easy to teach them to be consistent rather than to have someone who's consistent but slow and you've got to try and teach them to be fast.
Yeah, that's true. If the speed is there, you can normally calm it down a little bit, but that's still something I think Russell still needs to work on, clearly, with his mistake at the first corner. But still, he's worked his way nicely back through the field. He's set the fastest lap of the race. He's now right on the tail. The battle for third with Tyler McQuarrie having got past Scott Maxwell, and then Russell Ward is right with him. Also up in the 6th position. Really good work for Nick Galante. He slipped back at the start. He started 8th, fell back to 12th. He's now worked his way all the way back into 6th position, ahead of Jim Cox, then Jeff Bosing and Brignos. He has kind of faded the other way. He's running inside the top 10, just ahead of Sheena Monk in the McLaren, who is in 10th place.
Shea Adam is our VP Racing Fuels Pit reporter. Any gossip coming from the pits? Any chatter? Anybody looking strategically at what's going on? Shea, what do you have?
We are 5 minutes away now from the pit window opening, from minimum drive time having been met, and there are some teams, particularly those in TCR, who will not be coming in as soon as the window opens. They're going to extend this race and split it directly in half. Now, I don't want to give away any trade secrets as to who's told me that they're going to do that with their strategies, but I will say that it has been for more than one team that they are just doing it 1 hour for you, 1 hour for you. Keep it nice and simple and fair between their drivers.
Thank you, Shea. Just keeping an eye on these times and how quick can Russell Ward close in. Answer very quickly indeed. It's only half a second now between him and the Multimatic Ford Mustang. He has that fastest lap of the race a couple of laps ago. He's closed in to within 10 seconds of the race leader now, Jeremy, considering how he went off the road early on. I know there's been a safety car, but this is a good drive back. He's got to keep his head down, keep that concentration.
Nate Stacey. He's the guy who got the charge in the last few laps. He was almost 3 seconds when he finally got past number 22 car of Maxwell. 5 laps to go. Nate Stacey, the gap between himself and the race leader was 8 seconds. It's now down to just over a second, actually a little less than a second as they go to the next split point on this racetrack. So Nate Stacey in that core motorsports Aston Martin is homing in on the race leading Turner Motorsport BMW of Robbie Foley. And a little bit further down the order, Sheena Monk, she's just lost a couple of positions to Hollywood, who's going to bring up sort of the top 10. Bryce Ford also now up to the 11th place. Then James Pesek, Tim Kroger, Vin Barletta. He's doing a good job in the Rebel Rock Racing Chevrolet Camaro. He's had various incidents in the other races this season, but that car is fast. Robin Liddell showed how to use in practice yesterday. Rob will be chomping at the bit, I'm sure. That number 71 car will be one of the first cars to come onto pit lane once the pit stop window opens, which is about 3 minutes from now. That's great to go.
Yeah, about now isn't good enough, is it? Let's be honest. That's why I'm not here. That's why I'm not a team manager.
Game on for the lead though, the two leaders. Here we are. Here's Robbie Foley coming into turn 4 there, right behind him now. He's Nate Stacey. That very distinctive Core Motorsports Aston Martin. I say distinctive Core Motorsports. They've run nothing but forward. So Dean Martin there and Larry Verhagen. Larry Verhagen. Years. Switched to the Aston Martin last season. That car is running beautifully now. They've had a great start to the season. Nate Stacey and Carl Marcelli came into this championship, 3 points behind the championship leaders, Tyler McCrory and Jeff Westphal. They start off the season with a 5th place finish. They've been second each of the last 2 races, running 2nd place again right now. That's Nate Stacey in car number 6.
Yeah, so they run to the front of that multicolored Aston Martin, pink, blue and white, and he has got the leader in sight now. 54.622 last time around is that new fastest lap. Tyler McQuarrie up into 3rd, has got ahead of Maxwell then. Russell Ward still right on the tail of the Ford Mustang in that battle, which is now for 4th position. Be another lap for the leaders that cross the line now. Just a few moments ago, a bit of damage to the 39. Oh, now that's significant on the right hand side. And was there another touch there going? No, it's the 93, excuse me. We're on the same colour scheme. And that's one of the carbon Audis, the 91. Running into the TCR Audi into the first corner. That was the Gavin Elston car. He's had a really difficult opening stanza to this, Jeremy, with the left front tyre issue and then being attacked by the Carbon Motorsports GS, the Audi R8 GT4. It's the Mark Siegel driven car, and that will be being looked at by the race stewards. Meantime, front of the field, back to the battling that we've come to expect in this championship as they climb towards the far end of the circuit from the pit lane. It's that very quick entry to turn number 11 before the Oak Tree turn at 12. And do my eyes deceive me, Jeremy, or does that number 60 Aston Martin V8 Vantage just look to have a little bit more through the centre and off the corner? My goodness, the BMW is doing well down the straights.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? There doesn't seem to be an awful lot to choose between them, but the Aston Martin, looking after its tyres really, really well. Having said that, Robbie Foley just turned his best lap of the race last time around. It's 18 laps in the books. He's going quicker than he had before. 1 minute 54 last time around for Robbie Foley, the race leader. Now he's going to duck into the pit lane. There's already been one car onto the pit lane. That number 71 car, Frank Depew, to hand over to Robin Liddell. Now the second of the cars to go into pit lane, our erstwhile leader, is Robbie Foley.
Yeah, and that's all about the time. They're not necessarily short of fuel at that point. It's all about the minimum time in the book for the starting driver. So Bill Oberlin will take over what was the lead in BMW. Looks like full service too.
Full service and getting Robbie Foley out of that car because he needs to get into the other Turner Motorsports BMW. That's the 96. Minimum time has been met. So that means that Vin Barletta will be coming into the pit lane and Robbie will be taking over the reins of that machine. Fuel and tires for them. Fuel and tires also, as well as a driver change for the 22 Multimatic Racing Ford Mustang. This car would have lost 30 kilos, as was BOP between the last two races, and it's Seth Brio, whose father last raced at VIR about 6 years. Well, Andy is here, but he is not driving this weekend. He's being the good karting dad. Robbie out of the 95 is now getting into the 96, and he is getting a Michelin. Also into the pit lane, it's worth noting that the 35 is in, and that was Jim Cox who brought in the Mercedes for Rally Technologies. So Murray will be taking it back out. The 7 Porsche is in that bright yellow one, and that will be Trent going back out of that. We also see the 38 Porsche in. Tom Collingwood doing a very good job in his opening stint. Jan Halen, who has been super fast all weekend, will be taking it back out. And also of note, we have the 71 in the pit lane as soon as the window opened. I think it was about 1 second after the window opened. And that means that Robin Liddell is now installed behind the wheel of the Chevy as we have gone to full course caution.
Yeah, it's the number 4 car that is off course at turn number 5. It's another off for Russell Ward, and he's got that car back going again. Ah, no, hang on a second. That was after the full course yellow, according to race control, unless that was when they just picked it up. He did come to a halt, and he's come to a halt again, I think. So safety car out for the second time of asking. So, well, now what's that going to do to everybody who's just stopped?
Pivotal, fantastic for the guys who've already stopped, because they will cycle around to the back of the field, and once the pits are opened, which will not be until everybody else is packed up behind the safety car, all those cars that have made that first stop will be golden. They will leapfrog through into the lead. They won't need to stop, everybody else will.
Well, Robin Liddell was the first one in, going out the 22 Autograph Ford. Oh, did it hit the tyre? It didn't, may have, but he didn't drive right and move it. He had to be pushed back. Well, oh, then he did hit it on the way out, so that's going to be a penalty. That's going to be a pit lane penalty for the 22.
Yeah, one would have hoped the 38 team would have put that tyre in a better place than that, however, so he might be able to plead his way out of that one. That was really unfortunate for number 38 car to come in directly in front there. And the good news is that they've already made their judgment. If they get away without a penalty, that's Seb Prio who's rejoining there. If they get away without a penalty, they'll be okay. I'm sure they'll be suggesting that 38 team could have moved that tyre into a better location rather than leaving it slap in the middle of where the 22 car needed to exit its own pit box. This is.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, just very quickly, bad news this is then for all the drivers that have not yet pitted. The top 9 cars in GS have not yet pitted. In 10th position is the TCR leader, that's Gabby Chalmers.
So it was indeed a full course yellow. I'm having this confirmed from race control. It was the 4 that brought out the full course yellow. Just looking at the race control channel, it was a moment or two before the car was identified, full course yellow being put on the race control channel first, of course, because that's the most important. Which car it was and where. I don't see any damage to that Russell Ward car, so and the fact that it moved and then stopped, I wonder if there's some underlying problem there. May have been caused from when he first went off the circuit, or maybe something completely unrelated, but having had the elation, Jeremy Shaw, of pole position, it's gone sour very quickly for Winward Racing and for Russell in that car. Pits are open this time round for GS. Takers from everybody at the front, Jeremy, I'd expect.
Yeah, yes, I would think so. We're well into a stint, so I think they don't have much choice. But certainly, the good news is for the championship,
20 laps
for the leaders, the top two cars in the championship have not yet made a pit stop. But the third place car in the championship has made a pit stop. Cox has handed over the number 35 car to Dylan Murray, I think. Yes. But for the other two championship contenders, there's 3 points separating. They're going to be inconvenienced by this timing of the caution because they are going to go right to the back of behind all the cars that have already been onto pit lane.
Shea Adam is watching a very busy pit lane as the GS get the first shot at a pit stop.
Nick Grigsby is out of the 39, and it is Jeff Westphal taking over the green and black Audi. The championship leaders coming into this race as further up the pit lane in the Aston Martin for Core Motorsports. I heard you say that. It is Kyle Barcelli who has been installed for Nate Stacey after Nate's fantastic opening stint. Also into the pits, we've got the 80. It's Nick Galante who did his job at handing over to Dylan McIvern. A very good story from that team. One car rolling this weekend in the race after the crash in the practice. All their efforts are behind that 80. Jeff Mosing brought in the 56 Marilla Racing Mercedes. Eric Foss will take it back out. Priceford brought in the number 57 Winward Racing Mercedes, and that is his normal co-driver taking back over this weekend, as he's had a couple different ones over the course of the year, but once again it is Philip Ellis, the young Englishman. We've got Corey Lewis in the number 3 Motorsport and Action McLaren, and Spencer Pompelli step back to the fences in that number 31 Hardpoint Audi.
At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, hello Sarah Rigby, who is now watching up in Prix, the home of Bentley, as I know I say that every time, but that's become one of the things that we say, isn't it? Hello to Rebel Rock Racing as well, who I know are tuned in. They are one of the teams who will have a huge advantage from going in early. I reckon they are going to be no worse than 6th when we restart, with a fired up Robin Liddell behind the wheel of that Chevrolet Camaro. So did the 95 car did come in before the full course yellow, so Oberlin's going to be the leader once the TCR cars come in. It should be Dylan Murray in 2nd for Riley Motorsports Mercedes, and then Trent Hinman for Archangel Motorsports, having taken over that car. That's the bright yellow number 7 car. So that's worked well for them as well, Jeremy. And Trent in 3rd. He'll not need any second invitations to try and go forward from there.
Indeed so, and the number 7 car has, because of the delay in the pits for number 22, that enabled Trent Hinman to get ahead of Seb Prio. Behind them will be Jan Halen in the BGB Motorsports Porsche. That car has also been super fast in practice already this weekend. And then Robin Liddell, as you say, in 6th place. Robbie Foley, who was leading the race early on, is now still in very much in contention, but in a different car in 7th place.
I've been in a race where my teammate has done that, has raced 2 cars, and that means you've got to have, and we didn't have radios back in the olden days, and so you just had to know and watch your pit signals to make sure that you were in the pit lane as quickly as possible. Obviously he has to come in, he starts one car and then jumps into another, so you've got to make sure that it all works right. No point in bringing the car he's going to jump into if he's still out on the track.
Yeah, that's right. They timed it absolutely perfectly. The second of the car, number 96 car, started by Vin Barletta, was far enough behind that when he came into the pits for its stop on schedule before the caution came out, it was just enough time for Robin to hop out of one car and get ready to hop into the 96. It couldn't have been any better. And of course, with the caution right afterwards, even better for that Turner Motorsport team. They could have a 1-2 finish here.
Oh yes, and then which step does Robbie stand on? I've seen that happen before at Dubai. We've seen that happen before. VP Racing Plus pit report for TCR pit stop. Shea Adam.
We've got a whole lot of TCR cars in the pit lane. In fact, all of them have come in. So what I was talking about before, where teams were talking about splitting the strategy evenly between the race, well, that went out the window. The first car onto the pit lane was the 33 Brian Hyundai, that's the red one. Gabby Chavez's first time starting the race, but every single time in a race this year, that car has pitted from the lead, so they have quite the streak to keep going. They have worked on the driver changes before, and it will be a driver change for this one, but the car that gets out first is the blue one. That's 98. It was Mikey Lewis who started that one. It is Mason Filippi who is taking it over. Harry Gottsacker will hand over to Mark Wilkins in the black one. That's the 21, and that is the second car off the pit lane. Third back out is the 33, so that is the red Hyundai. And then fourth, we've got Shelby Blackstock finally in a Honda getting to turn some laps as the 29 Hyundai, the last one of the Brian Herta Autosport car, is now back out and moving. And that's still showing is Spencer Brockman behind the wheel, so no Parker Chase as of yet. Other driver changes that we had include Steven Simpson now in the 54 JDC Miller Motorsport Audi, and of course, Matt Pombo in the 73 Honda. So there's two Hondas left in this race. Let's see what they can do.
Good Autosport team, John. Brian Herta, of course, not here this weekend. He's got another duty to perform, well, right now, actually, fairly important. He's in Indianapolis, hoping to guide one of his cars to its third victory in the Indianapolis 500. It was Marco Andretti that qualified on the pole, so Brian Herta is not here to oversee the team this weekend.
And we'll be all catching up on that as a team. That's what DVRs are for. As a team, we'll be catching up on that later on. I'm about 35 minutes into the pre-show, in the gap that we have between our broadcasts. Just time to grab some excellent homemade meatballs for a quick snack before we came back for the Michelin Pilot Challenge. And I fear another late night coming on. It was after 3 in the morning before my head hit the pillow yesterday, after an extremely long day of racing at VIR with our other broadcast.
You had another racing comment on, John, after that? I know you had some before it.
No, it was all before. Fortunately, there was no hold-ups in the Barcelona race that we were covering as well. I just can't find that I can go straight to bed once I've come off a race that was as exciting as the WeatherTech race yesterday. So I sat down and had a snack and caught up with a bit of motorsport that I had on. I was going to say I had on digital. Coming back to green flag with just on an hour and 6 minutes to go. Time to turn up the wick, turn up the sound, and turn up the excitement level as we go back to green flag with Bill Oberlin leading out, the man who has more race victories in IMSA than any other driver. He sits alone, will never lose on 61 victories. Will he get number 62 today? Well, look what happened to Corvette. They were looking for the big victory for such a long time in terms of getting their 100 victory in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, and since they've got that, they've not winning. Stop winning. Is that going to happen with Bill Oberlin as well? The money on the back has been talking about before yesterday in our Michelin post-race tech programme. The whole team breathing a sigh of relief. They like to go out for taco Sunday. I can't imagine they never took the taco Sunday if they have 2 victories. I can't even begin to explain how that's going to work for Turner Motorsport and Will Turner and the rest of the guys. It's Oberlin and Victor, also Bridgestone, pulling a second on the rest of the field. Mike Hinman, Seb Brio. She's saying that Andy was here but not driving. No, he is driving. He's driving the Ford F350 that he bought with the fifth wheel to pull the big motorhome RV that he bought. And those guys are still to make sure that Seb can fulfil his motor racing commitments. That it is, as Jeremy said there in the background, Jan Halen from PGP Motorsport, and all of the first 4 or 5 cars setting cracking second times off the restart. Mid-time in TCR, side-by-side action for the lead. Mason Filippi, Mark Wilkins, Mason Filippi, eggshell blue, but they've lost to Ed. Fortunate enough to sample recently the close close cousin of this car, the i30N Fastback, i30N Performance Fastback, 275 horsepower in a street car from a 2-litre engine with an electronic diff, and it has got the right squish ring setting on it as well, by which means it does snap, crackle and pop every time you lift off. It sounds like a Group N rally car. Absolutely fantastic thing. Totally fell in love with it at £30,000. Okay, and that's the same platform that these cars are based on. The Veloster, the i30N hatchback, and the Fastback all sharing the same running gear. That's why the TCRs was different shapes depending on where they are in the world. The Veloster N is available in the States, whereas the i30N hatchback is not at the moment. Now let's head back up to GS Northern, trying to get away from the battles behind him, go down to the door edges of the top 10. Robbie Forley in turn of Motorsports 96 car now is in 7th. Kyle Marcelli for Core, the Aston Martin, the winner of Moultrie now, and right behind them is Forley. Ed Grayson can't miss that one, because that is the Lincoln Mustang. Behind that actually, Terry Moss is not that far away, and neither is Bryce Walker William Racing. And then we've got Corey Lewis for Motorsports in action, and then we've got Spencer Pumpelly for Hardpoint. They're all line of stone, gentlemen.
Yeah, it's tight out there. It's a good restart. Line of Dylan Murray in turn one. Wasn't able to make that stick. Bill Arnold didn't make it before. We talked about Bill Arnold's record streak yesterday. Those top class American sports car races. This won't count for that. That was just the top line. This won't count towards that number, but it's still been another accomplishment. Everything he's ever done. Number 16 in this championship, and this is his 99th start in the Michelin Pilot Championship.
So we'll have to remind him of that next time out.
Yeah. And right ever since then, he's got 100 starts, by the way. This is now out. Yeah, started that. Celebration.
So I have a question then, a statistical question, Jeremy, on that. So as he didn't get into the car, and I'll come to the car that's off in a moment, does that mean that doesn't count for his 100th start?
That's a very good question. In this series, I'm actually counting that if it's two drivers, then they do count as a start, in actual fact. But there'll be an asterisk, certainly.
Right, we're back to full course yellow. Turn 1, been a scene of a few incidents this weekend, and once again a car has gone through the first layer of the retaining tyres, or at least the tyres that are meant to slow them down. That's an extremely fast place to go off the circuit, and it's a Hyundai for sure, and it went off at unabated speed and got through to the second layer of that. Is that the 47th Motorsports car? I think it is. I think it is Alex Papadopoulos, isn't it? I can barely see it through with the tyres that are around it at turn 1. We've already got a safety crew there, and with spot on an hour to go, it's the green and orange car, so that is Alex Papadopoulos. So I really did curse him when I put him back in the Alpha earlier on the first lap. He's had no luck since. That's definitely a hashtag. Blame Hindy. Turn 1 was the scene of the very scary looking incident on, was it Friday, Cher? Was it Saturday? It was Saturday, wasn't it? The big accident that took the car out of this race.
Yesterday morning, correct. It was Devin Jones going off, but he went off a little bit more toward the entrance of turn 1. This is more further along. It's more halfway around the circle almost.
There is a lot of runoff there, but it is slightly downhill and it's all grass. I've never seen so many cars going straight on at that corner in the years that I've been coming here, and it was a And the American Le Mans Series have been coming here for quite a few years now. Good to see that the AMR intervention Porsche Cayenne S, and indeed one of the IMSA AMR Chevy safety trucks already there. Car is coming out with, as you might imagine, damage to the front. Went pretty much straight on and has lost a lot of front bodywork, but no damage to the passenger cell of the car, or should I say the driver's cell. And the driver is out.
Oh, that's Ben Waddell.
I was going to say that's not Alex, although that's definitely what it says on the timing and scoring, but that is Ben Waddell who got out of that car. That was why I paused and sure you anticipated my next question before I even said it.
Hive mind, John, hive mind.
We spend a lot of time together. Well, that's another nasty one. Can't understand how that has happened unless he got a little bit of help there. So the 47 Motorsport, number 47, grey and orange Hyundai, will be recovered back to the pit. This has been a bit bitty, hasn't it? We haven't really got into any kind of rhythm here, and that's messing me up. It's going to sound like Paul Truswell here, and if you're going to sound like anybody, it's not the worst person to sound like. I'm not getting the data I want for my fuel calculations here. Not happy with this at all. So I'm checking the strategy software here at the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Sure, what this does for the drivers, I suppose it depends where you are. If you want a bit of a charge, Jeremy, as Robin Liddell was, 5th position for him. Trent Hindman was trying to make up some positions as well. Does this help you? You've cooled your tyres down. Robin was the first car in, of course, so he will stretch his stint just a little bit further than he'd expected to, but the same can be said for everybody who stopped after him as well. So really any advantage to anybody this full course yellow.
No, that's correct. The drivers that had made their before everybody else, and that was the top 6 or 7, I think it was, before the restart. But certainly for Robin Liddell, he's managed to get past Jan Hayden since the restart, so that puts him in even better shape. Up into 5th place now for Robin Liddell, and those two cars, number 71 Chevrolet and number 38 Porsche Cayman, along with number 7 Porsche Cayman, have been amongst the fastest cars here yesterday as well in the one dry practice session that they had. But never count out what to do with the amount of success he has had at every racetrack on this planet, it seems like. But this is a loaded field up the front here. Bill Omlin, Dylan Murray, who's a proven winner nowadays, even though he's still remarkably only 18 years of age, from Cartersville in Georgia. Second generation driver, of course, his dad David had a lot of success in IMSA competition. Seb Prio, the youngster in the another youngster in 4th position, right behind Trent Hindman, who's a former series champion. Then it's Robin Liddell and Jan Halen and Robbie Foley. Carl Marcelli is in the 8th position, but the number 39 car, the other championship contender, the championship leader coming to this weekend, Jeff Westphal, he has dropped back into the 13th position. So he has he just hasn't made up any ground since the restart.
Just looking at the pit stops for the TCRs, Jeremy, they all came in on the same lap in the last caution, and we've now got 54 minutes to go. That was what, some 5 laps ago. They'll be able to go to the end now, because they can do nearly enough. We've been under caution for a couple of those 5 laps since they came back out again. It's going to be close, isn't it?
For TCR?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think TCRs probably can get to the end, actually. Yeah, with if this is much of a caution period, yes, I think they will be able to go to the end, no problem at all.
Yeah, I was just thinking out loud there as I was scrolling down to have a look at when the pit stops happened and how many laps they had done. This is not the predicted lap total at the end of another 54 minutes down to 50 laps, or 22, 23 laps to go, depending on the pace once we get back underway. I tell you what, very lucky lad, Ben Waddell, because the front of that car, first of all, isn't too badly damaged, and secondly, and I didn't think this would be the case, but going straight on there, he's actually done a better job of keeping the car in one piece and himself in one piece than if he pitched it sideways. You normally think, let's get it sideways to scrub a bit of pace off, Jeremy, but when you're on grass, that's not necessarily going to help, and what you don't want it to do is dig in and then start rolling. He just went straight off into that first row of tyres, and that first row of tyres doesn't necessarily look terribly high-tech, but my goodness, they dissipate the energy, and that's exactly what they did.
Well, they do, particularly when they are spaced from the Armco barrier that's behind him. I think there's a gap there, so that dissipates a lot of energy. I mean, if the tyres are right up against the Armco barrier or up against a solid wall, as in many locations on many racetracks, the tyres will still cushion somewhat. But when there's a gap between the tyres and the real harvesting, then that dissipates a lot more energy as well. So yeah, big safety feature there. And certainly Ben Waddell is a little bit lucky in that respect, that he was able to, a lot of that energy will have been absorbed by that tyre barrier. It will still, however, have been a pretty heavy impact, so he'll feel that in the morning for sure.
Yeah, you start to ache where the shoulder straps and the lap belts were. There's very few people who've been out of a racing car who haven't had an incident, whether it's their fault or not, and the bruises will start to come up probably about this time tomorrow for Ben. He'll start to feel it, or maybe on Tuesday morning when he gets out of bed and go, oh, hang on a minute, I don't remember. Oh, look, I've got these lovely bruises coming up here over the shoulders. I speak of what I know. 51 minutes to go. Shea Adam, the safety car lights are out. Shea just musing to herself if the TCR cars could go from here. What does that mean for the race, Shea?
Means that potentially a TCR car could win overall. It's still a big ask. We have a long way to go. Fuel windows are tight for everybody. I've just checked in with a couple of TCR teams, and they said it's going to be close. But I did just get an answer back from Russell Ward as to why the Ford stopped out on track. It was a loose battery ground cable. The car has just come back out of the pit lane, though, so it is back out and circulating the black Mercedes once again, this time with Indy Bianchi behind the wheel.
Ah, that makes you want to scream out loud. VP Racing Fuels pit report. What Shea is alluding to is that the TCRs will stay out on track, and the guys at the front set a decent pace, about halfway up the GS field in terms of lap times. But of course, all the GS cars will have to stop one more time to have enough fuel to go to the end. The balance of that is how much quicker in lap times will the front of the GS field be, how far away will they get to offset the time that they'll have to come in to the pit lane. It's not beyond the bounds, it really isn't beyond the bounds, but without a bit more of a help, I think it's unlikely. But I'm going to watch to see how far the TCRs get up, because there could be a bit of a chase on at the end. Of course, they wouldn't be battling for class position, but they'd be battling for overall position. And it might be that the TCRs will just back through again. Shall we go back racing again so that we don't have to muse about these things? Into the pit lane, the number 71. That's probably the position. I think he's going to splash now for enough fuel to get to the end, Jeremy. That must be surely the goal from that, because I don't see any issues with not new tyres, or is it just one new tyre? Shea Adam.
Right now they're changing the left front. When I thought I saw the full attached and the door was open so a new drinks bottle was going in, they're also changing the left rear, running around the other side of the car, so up in the air as it was on the track. But I think that was power-based. Left side tire is only from my eyes, John.
Like it. That is a really, really aggressive call, Jeremy Shaw. Whilst the field is still bunched up off the back of the caution, they've come in, they've filled it for 48 minutes and 44 seconds of racing. It will be tight, but it might be doable. And with another potential intervention from the BMW X5 competition, that might get them to the end. I like that. I think that's bold.
I do as well. As soon as the green came out, the pits are open, we can come in, and that's exactly what that team did. Of course, at that stage, the whole field isn't yet up to full speed. So while they come around next time, they will be. So Robin again is going to have his gang up. He's going to be charging hard as soon as he comes out of the pit lane.
And the other advantage he's got, Jeremy, he's in clear air right now. All right, he's going to catch the back of the train of cars behind the safety car. But in relative terms, if you project forward, he's getting some great clean laps in now. They're at least going to be somewhere close to what the guys at the sharp end of the field are doing.
No, well, yeah, he's not going to catch the tail end of the field for quite a while yet. I think he's going to be a long way behind the rest of the pack. So yeah, I think it's a great call all around. And if, of course, if there is a full cause caution, everybody else is going to have to come in, and you have to worry about everybody else because he is going to leapfrog to the front.
Yes, good point. 47. It was about 48, 45 when Rebel Rock came in, side by side, motoring for third and fourth position, excuse me, Seth Prix and Jan Halen. The tiny Cayman 718, that green colourway, barely being able to be seen between the BMW M4 GT4 and ahead of it, the Ford Mustang from Multimatic. Prix wins out on that one as he heads up the climbing S's, that's sinuous ribbon of tarmac. It runs out from turn 5, effectively all the way up to turn number 11. A couple of very quick corners there, where on the qualifying lap, the GT car, some of them have really on the throttle for others, and maybe just a little settling touch of the brake for the other ones. It's knowing which one's which and what you can get away with. Ford car is back in the pit lane, but that's a penalty. Over the wall early, drive through. Robert Littell, wing rotation while on the jack stands, drive through for the 71 Rebel Rock car. I think that's a bit unlucky. I thought that was the crew members spinning the wheels and turning the wrench off, if I'm honest. But that's been reported. I suppose it depends which side you were looking from. I didn't think that Robin even had that car in gear when that started. There might be.
Surely would have had the brakes on.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Should have had the brakes on. So yeah, that's exactly what that team did. The penalty for the car number 4. Who cares about that? That's way off the game, off the pace now. But look, I think the second place on this restart was able to sneak past David Murray up to the second place. And now Phil Ormley is trying to win for the second time at IMSA weekend. But he's done it several times through his career. The most recent time, thanks to Nate Stevens, was Circuit of Americas in 2011 at IMSA.
Come on, 39 Audi in from its position, 16. Jeff Westphal brought the car in. A new set of tyres on that. She'll keep eyes on that for the moment. Steering, by the way, we're talking about Devin Jones, and from going to P6, he's got 365. Devin thumbs up the picture on his social media, has had to have surgery for a broken arm and a broken back after his accident yesterday. We wish him all the best, Devin. We miss you. I'm sure you're tuned in and watching what's going on. We'll be pleased to have you back. Do the rehab, listen to the physios, do the work. There's no other way, I'm afraid. And we wish you all the best for that.
Had 4 wins in this championship, and he was having another good strong season, he and James. They hadn't had any luck at all this year. He was worse yesterday, but massive accident. So we do indeed look forward to David Jones and James Clay, for whom this was, of course, the home race for the
Just checked in with the 61 crew. That's the Roadchecker Racing Audi. Remember, Gavin Ernstone had a puncture very early on in his first stint. Due to some good kit work and some good driving too, they've managed to stay on the lead lap and get back out in the throes of the fight. So currently 8th in the class, but John Morley is out there turning good times, and Gavin said the car is still good. They are looking for some serious redemption after last year being involved in a battle that looked like it was going to take them potentially to a podium finish, and instead winding up with a fairly bent car. They want some champagne this year.
Oh yes, I remember that. Well reminded. He's right up at the moment behind the LA Honda World Racing Honda Civic, 7th position. That's the 73 car. Meantime, at the sharp end of the field, there's a battle for the lead. It's just a small battle for the three cars from three different manufacturers, with Bill Orwell and Trent in Dylan Barry behind the wheel of those three cars. 95, 7 and 35. They are separated by half a second, and I don't mean half a second between each of them, I mean half a second between first and third as they went through the last intermediate. And at the moment it does seem as though the Riley Motorsports, that's the wind's coloured AMG I was about to say, was pulling a little better down the back straight. It's off the back of that, Jan Heelan's right there for VGP as well. He's closing in Germany.
Well, that's right. I mean, we said earlier on there, that's a super fast car. We showed that yesterday, and Jan Heelan hasn't been up at the front end for quite a long time. But did a really good straight in that VGP car, and Jan Heelan is leading that way into contention. Here there is a pit stop for Bill Orwell, and this will be for fuel. By the way, Robin Liddell is 2 seconds fastest lap of the race, a 153.959. Jan Heelan just a tenth of a second off that to set the fastest lap in that third place car, number 38.
Shea Adam is watching the Turner Motorsport stop.
Interesting move by Turner Motorsport, going for fuel only, no new tires. Must be reporting that the Michelin rubber underneath them is still good enough. Waiting now. Set to go for 41 and a half minutes to go in this race. Let's see if when Alan Brynjolfsson's co-driver Trent Hindman comes in for Archangel Motorsport, Mike Johnson decides to throw some new rubber at the Porsche. That could be the difference between the race win and second.
Well, they've set out their stall early there. It's a shame actually that the Rebel Rock Racing Camaro had got the penalty, because I would like to see where he came out as compared to Robert Liddell. He'd been back out, but he'd been back out. So they're gambling here. This is all about track position for Turner right now. Trent Hindman needs to put in the few laps of his life. Jan Heelan goes purple. That means he's got the fastest lap of the race. 1:53.8 for Jan Heelan in third position. I did notice Robin Liddell has got the fastest middle sector of anybody last time around with a 47.4. Oh, and off has gone the 37 Motorsport Shelby Blackstone in the LA Honda World car. And that was at the top of the hill at the roller coaster and managed to be avoided by those around them. Another car going backwards across the track here. We've seen quite a lot of that this weekend. In comes the leaders, first and second. Now this is crucial. It was fuel only for the Turner car, and I'm being told Parker Chase did make contact with Shelby Blackstone. That looks like fuel only. Oh no, tyres coming out, at least for the AMG, and I think for the Porsche. Shea Adam.
This is great. This is Bill Riley versus Mike Johnson. This is a great gently on the back with the tire, no foul, looks like she's okay. But just now waiting on the fuel, Mercedes is first back rolling, waiting on the fuel on the Porsche as the fueler is actually standing on the hood of the car, and there's
He's hobbling
on the hood to make sure that he's got the engine footprint off the top roof, and it's gone.
Yeah, he's got it.
This comes out.
Now, and more importantly than that, the second of the Turner cars has jumped both of those other two that came in. He came in behind. That's Robbie Foley, who's normally Bill Orwell's teammate. He drove the car, the other car, earlier on in the race. So I'm guessing there, Jeremy, that was fuel only as well for the 95. So they've now got 2 bullets in their gun and track position. So when we were talking about who was against who in the pit stop battle in terms of the brains on the pit wall, we have to add in Will Turner and his team as well, because they've played, for the moment at least, an absolute blinder. As off goes the number 33, that's the bright red Hyundai. Well, I was about to say manages to hold on to it. This was 3rd in class, that car, for Ryan Norman, who's got it back, pointing in the right direction. But my goodness me, right at the top of the S's, he's done very well indeed. Floored the throttle as you do in a front-wheel drive car, and somehow managed to get that car back onto the track without A, crashing into anybody else, or B, losing that much time. Hasn't even got that much grass in the grill because he was going sideways for so long. Halen's in the pits. Amarillo Racing, Eric Voss is in the pit. PF is in the pit. Automatic, Charles Espenlaub now behind the wheel of the Aston Martin. They're all in the pits. Shea will keep an eye on that. Jeremy, brilliant stuff. Absolutely brilliant stuff. We've seen 2 tyre stops. We've seen 4 tyre stops. We've seen no tyre stops. Gotta love this championship.
Yeah, sensational, isn't it? And I tell you what, he was lucky there was Ryan Norman to anybody, because he was in the middle of a 4-car battle for the lead in TCR. The class is still led by Mason Felipe from Mark Wilkins. Stephen Simpson now will move up to 3rd place in the best of the non-prime at all the sport like they've lost their TCRs. That's the JDC Miller Motorsports Audi. So Stephen Simpson is very much in contention in this race as well. Of course, that's the car that Michael Johnson qualified 2nd fastest on the grid. So the car was good. You know that. Michael had a bit of an up and down first stint, but until everybody knows the regular lister by admiration for Michael Johnson. Yeah. Paralysed from the chest down. Just fantastic story. It breaks me up every time I talk about it.
Yeah, he's just showing everybody that determination, grit, fantastic, great attitude from that gentleman, and I use that word advisedly as well. So of the cars that have made their last stops, I reckon Oberlin and Robbie Foley are the ones at the moment who lead, but they are still behind, as Shea rightly predicted, a whole host of TCR cars. Bill Oberlin has got 3 seconds before he catches up with a line of 6 cars, which aren't spread out by that much. John Morley driving very well indeed, because it's John Morley, doesn't he always do that? He's 6th in TCR with Audi, and then there's about 7 seconds between him and Mason Felipe, who is leading TCR effectively in now 2nd place, check that, 3rd place in the race, as we've got another 2 pit callers, Phil Ellis and Corey Lewis, for respectively Winwood and Tupia. Seb Rio has stayed out, Brett Mosing has stayed out in the Ford number 22 and the Mercedes number 65. Then we've got the Hyundai TCR Ford. 2 of them now. Stephen Simpson is up into 3rd place, because Parker Chase is now in 4th, and he's just gone through quickly again with a 57.4. 484, the new fastest lap in the race, is it? TCRs. So Jeremy, Turner Motorsport, Will Turner, his 2 cars 4 seconds apart, having now to cut through the TCRs, and this is where they may lose a bit of time, and this is the crucial point for them.
It certainly is, isn't it? I mean, they're catching up pretty quickly now, not too far behind the TCRs, within 10 seconds of them, so there'll only be 2 or 3 laps before they catch up. There is Stephen Simpson in that 3rd place car, Universal Coatings Audi, chasing those 2 Hyundais out front, Mason Felipe and then Mark Wilkins, last year's champion of cars last year. The Parker Chaser, you just talked about him having set a new fastest time in the class in 4th position. That's pretty remarkable when you consider last night he was racing a late model stock car at Hickory Speedway. Could you imagine a late model stock car at Hickory Speedway, and here the classic road course at VIR, the front-wheel drive TCR car.
Any news of that contact between he and Shelby Blackstock. I'll keep an eye on that. Shelby, he's back on the track and just set his new personal best as well. Do you know what? If you said to Parker that, Jeremy, I know exactly what he said. I won't attempt to imitate his accent. He's got a fabulous speaking voice, and I love the way he would say it's got a wheel at each corner, a steering wheel and pedals. It's just the same. Fast is fast. That's his attitude though, isn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, that's great.
So inside the last 35 minutes now, and we expect the TCR battle to go all the way to the end. We're just waiting for Sebastian Prix and Brett Mosey to pit and make their final pit stops. Now, this has been a rather unusual race for GS because of the way the safety cars have fallen. But Sebastian Prix now on his 19th lap. That car did 20 laps with a little bit of assistance from safety car, of course. He started the race in the hands of Scott Maxwell, his teammate, but I don't think they're far away from having to pit in terms of their fuel. The question will be tyres or no tyres, and is it just a time stop for fuel? With 32 minutes left, they're not going to need a full tank of fuel, so it will be a timed stop. And then I think the further you go into the race, the less likely it is to put new tyres on, because your car's going to be lighter at the end. In has come the McLaren. Shea Adam is watching this stop.
This is not a planned stop, John. He had come in before to do his final service. This is something more sinister.
That's a shame. Lewis from action in the number 3 car. That is his third run down the pit lane. Absolutely right. I can only just see the top of the car across the pit lane arm court. Yeah, he's only been out for 15 laps. Did 21 laps in the first stint, that car, albeit aided.
He was in last lap, John.
Oh, really? So that's 2 in quick succession for that car.
Correct.
Mike, who hasn't even caught up with that yet.
Yeah, so here's Brett Mosey now in second place, just around the ridge. This is the third race on the road. The TCR leaders then still Mason Filippi, who leads the race with Mark Wilkins in his wheel tracks, and Stephen Simpson trying to cling on to the tail of those Hyundais in third position.
And Mason Filippi leading that category in the 98, the light eggshell blue car, which has become the end performance blue, although this thing we've got to a rather nice flat grey colour recently for the new 2021 cars, for the street cars at least. Mason just put his fastest lap of the race in, 1:57.6, so he's picking up the pace.
He is, isn't he? Yeah, good effort there, and we've got pretty close behind this little group now is Bill Ormerlin. He's the GS, it's currently third place in GS, 2 cars ahead of Rick Yates to make a pit stop. We're a long way ahead, he's 7 minutes, a long way ahead. I don't think he's quite got enough time to make up the stop, so that should go and get out ahead of him, but it's been a super run for that Multimatic Motorsports Mustang. But what I was going to say there, Bill Ormerlin is next up in line, and Robbie Foley, his teammate co-driver, is actually closing in on his second each for the last couple of laps.
Yeah, I remember saying it was nearly 4 seconds, it was 3.8 seconds, now it's 2 seconds, so you spot on there, Jeremy, and the gap between Seb and Bill Ormerlin is 45 seconds, and I don't think, as quick and as good as the Multimatic guys are, that they can turn that car around with only a 45-second loss of time. By the time he's slowed down coming out of 17, hit the pit lane speed limiter, trundled along the pit lane thinking, oh really, this is super slow. In comes Mosey. Well, let's keep an eye on this then. Out of second position, the TCRs have gone through, Ormerlin's gone through, Parker Chase has gone through, Robbie Foley's gone through, and he hasn't even got to his pit stall yet. Now, he wasn't as far ahead as Seb Prigo, in fairness.
And Seb Prigo's just had his best lap of the race, by the way, 1:54.207. That's a really good lap at this stage of the game. It's actually quicker than Bill Ormerlin in a tenth of a second. The only guy who was quicker on that lap were Trent Hidden and
further down, Jan Dillon and Phil Ellis and Eric Voss all in excitement for racing. As not diminishing one iota. 38 car, that's tile or scale pattern on it, green and yellow, came in 718. Very distinctive look to that car. And he's ahead of the bright tangerine AMG. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the number 60 Aston Martin, crucially for him at this stage, he's ahead of the championship leader coming into this weekend. We can try to make a move out on that Gorilla racing the second. Is 4 or 5 positions further back down the order, so losing quite a lot of championship ground. That's primarily as a result of the hotel party having made his pit stop afterwards.
That goes very fast. Liverpool Racing Tangerine Prix picked up a position in that Aston Martin. I hear the sound of a little cheer coming from Mark and Sarah up in the northwest. Marcelli goes up there to 8th in class. Sebastian Frio, 5.5 seconds ahead of Bill Oberlin, having taken that half second out in the last lap. Bill Oberlin's having to find his way past a couple of TCR cars. Now he's stuck in second place. So Frio now, with 27.5 minutes to go, where is he going to drop back in? So, didn't think where the Murillo racing car dropped back in, and he's dropped quite a long way down.
Yeah, 45 seconds is the lead that Seb Frio has. The longer he can stay out, the less he needs, of course. But there is also working his way through the TCR leaders. That's just before he got to the Claudia. You just saw a flash of yellow. Turn around heading up the hill. So there's only a couple of seconds between those two. There goes one car, and here comes the other one into the turn, and then that super battle with the TCR cars. Dylan Murray working his way through them as well, and Trent Hidman pretty much in their wheel tracks.
Just on the situation with TCR, remember they stopped with just around about an hour to go. And then we went straight into a full course. We went out of full course yellow pretty much straight into another one, so they did not have very much more than a couple of 3 laps of green. All of them, I'm hearing at the sharp end of that TCR, failed to front Michelin's only. What are the rear tyres for on a front-wheel drive car, Shay?
Holding the exhaust off the ground.
That's right, keep it from dragging. 22 leads, that's 7 wheel automatic. Ford Mustang GT4, the Motorcraft colours back into racing picture, and it's going well at the moment. And Bill Oberlin, tenths of seconds here. I know they're not side by side, rubbing pins, but they might as well be for the competitiveness that's going on at a 45-second distance. This is so important for young Sebastian. From Scott Maxwell, he's got a bit of clear track ahead of him now. He's going to make use of this. I would think possibly 2, maybe 3 more laps at the outside before fuel is going to be critical, and then the question will be at the tyres. He doesn't need a full tank of fuel. He's going round at least one more time. Maybe he's got a couple more laps under the rear wheels of that car, and more importantly, at the tank. In this 23 lap stint, Jeremy, I reckon there's been 7 laps of caution in this stint, so that will help him stretch, but I can't believe that he can, with 23 laps completed, do another 11 laps on top of what he's done, which is approximately what we're going to go to the end.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's probably going to be the case, but he's certainly making the point here, Step Frio, and super consistency at the front of the field. Each of his last 4 laps have been within maybe a tenth of a second or 2. Really remarkable consistency there from Step Frio. He's doing a great job. He got a little bit of a traffic on the first part of that lap, that last go around. He was actually green in his second and third sector, so he's pushing hard, and that Ford Mustang is working well for Step Frio.
Yeah, Shea Adam has this VP Racing Fuel update. Shea, pit delta, how long, what's the time taken to get down the pit lane if you were just doing a drive-through?
Should take about 32 seconds,
right.
Give or take 1 or 2, because it depends on your pit lane speed limiter. But I'm just trying to figure out for Seb Creo, if you add on that 32 seconds, he's got a 12-second buffer then back to the level line. So I'm trying to figure out how much fuel he would actually need put in the tank.
Well, it's getting, I mean, it's a smaller amount every lap he does, of course. They will know what that is. But it's not just about the time that you spend from pit in to pit out, of course. Shea said there about 32 seconds, depending on how close to the limit you set your pit lane speed limit. But you've got to slow down and then speed back up again, and you lose the time of going flat out down the front straight as well. So that's time in the pits. That's not necessarily time lost in terms of your lap time. The TCR battle is absolutely outstanding. Mason Filippi running 7th overall with Mark Wilkins pretty much in his hatchback boot at the moment. Just about 2 or 3 under. They've lost the lengths between those two. Brian Herter, Autosport, Kerm Agajanian run cars. Stephen Simpson's been doing a cracking job. He's keeping them honest, Jeremy, still only a second further back.
That's right, he's only about 10 car lengths behind, so if they get held up through any trunk, maybe we can close in on those two lengths from the GS cars. That's Jan Halen in that green Porsche Cayman. Right behind him is now the Aston Martin of Carl Marcelli. So this is a super battles going all the way down through. Just looking a little bit further back down the road, Robin Liddell is back in position in GS, 14th overall in this race. He's about 7 or 8 seconds, no less than that, 6 or 7 seconds, maybe even less than that, behind that little battle we were watching.
Yeah, just on about 5-6 seconds, as you rightly say, Jeremy. Yeah. And it's Eric Voss who'll be his next target. Massive Creo continues. Hello Joe, hello the rest of the family. I'm sure Andy's at the track, although stays away, lets Seb do his thing, doesn't have to tell the young man very much, I don't think. It's an absolute natural. Old blocks, in fact. I think now that a 4th generation Creo who has competed in motorsport. We're seeing Andy's first touring car race where he was plucked out of unusual racing in the UK and stuck into, I'm going to have to stretch this back, I think it was Open Park, and I think it was put on pole position. In fact, Trump certainly did that weekend. And from then on, moved over into circuit racing. Hang on a second, I'm seeing the 33 car spinning down through the S's before. Off again from Ryan Norman. 6th place in TCR, but he's had practice of getting him back on the track from there, so he knows what to do.
He doesn't need that because he came into this race second in the points behind Harry Gotzacker and Mark Wilkins. So these offs are certainly going to cause him.
Side-by-side action. Sorry, Jeremy.
No, that's good.
To break in with an exclamation like that. But through goes that number 60. Kyle Marcelli has got past Jan Halen. He had planned and schemed that quite a bit. Halen had dropped back a wee bit. So that changed back the other way. And so then what happened then? He must have thrown it at the scenery at turn 3 or 4. Well, that would have been Kyle Marcelli in the number 60 for Motorsports car. No, sorry, I know what I'm doing. I was watching the replay and then we came back to real time on the screen in front of me. So that was about a lap ago that we saw that side by side. Excuse me, Jeremy. 19 minutes to go. That is then a change of position with Kyle Marcelli now 6 seconds behind Phil Racing, who is 4 seconds behind Trent Hinman for Archangel Motorsports. who is 1 second behind Dylan Murray for Riley, who is about 1.3 behind Robbie Fawley, who's 2 behind Oberlin, who's still 44.5 seconds behind the lead car. Sebastian Priaulx has just come into the pit, Sheehan.
24 seconds worth of fuel went into that car, and the car has now been released. It's going to be very tight. Exit of 17 onto the front straight. The Ford, which pits all the way down at the pit in end of things, is just now by the pit exit.
There he goes. There goes Oberlin. Oberlin goes through. Here comes Fawley. It's still going to be a neck here, I reckon, for the Multicraft car. In second place. Second place with 8 minutes to go. And Sebastian Priaulx will have to fight just a little bit. And there's a bit of a side swipe between the BMW and the Mustang. They've lost a tiny bit of temperature from his Michelin tyres. How close? That was much closer than I thought, Jeremy. And it's very close now as Robbie Fawley. And right in there as well is the Wheats car. So second, third and fourth now a 12-wheel Trent.
Yeah, not too far behind, and also is Trent him, and that's really frustrating for Robbie Fawley though, because he was in there, and he was within 2 seconds of getting stuck behind the breathing a huge sigh of relief.
Seemed to have put a lot of fuel in that car for a 17-minute run to the flag, out to turn 2 and in towards turn 3. A bit of close quarters action. I think the drivers were still 6 feet apart, which is all right for social distancing at the moment. Stops niggering Miss Adam. Coming down to the final part of the lap then, Bill Oberlin 3 seconds ahead of Sebastian Priaulx has held on to second position as he came out the pit lane. You're not seeing double, there are 2 blue and white turning cars. The H&R car that leads has the white bonnet. Turned in, but he lets the car drift wide. It gives him the inside line for turn 2 and a better run into turn 3. He's going to try and go around the lead to the outside and then try the comeback. And here comes the Wins AMG, and then Fawley gets another little bang on that left front fender and through. Goes Dylan Murray, fantastic run for Riley Motorsports and up into 3rd place. Always difficult, Jeremy, to be in the middle of a 3-car train where you're attacking and defending at the same time.
Yeah, really important opportunity to pass up by young Dylan Murray. That was a fine move. He saw an opportunity, he went for it, he was clean down the inside. I think it was great pass. And he was down after that to, 3rd place. He's still looking on the ahead of him, of course. So Seb Priaulx, what a great job he has done. Having taken a stop action on. In 2nd place, it was Ford in 2nd place. BMW leads, Mercedes 3rd, BMW 4th, there's Porsche, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Porsche, another Mercedes, and then the Chevrolet of Robin Liddell in the 10th position, and he's got a couple of cars in his sights as well. Meanwhile,
with
side by side as they head.
Yeah, and it's the light blue car into turn 11 first, but the black number 21, Mark Wilkins, has Mason Filippi in his sights. Shay, you rattled off a whole load of names on the pit wall. Go through the names of the people on the pit wall who you were saying were pitting their wits against each other. Add Will Turner and his team to that. So you said?
Right, well, we've got Will Turner for the 95, Bill Riley for the 35, Mike Johnson for the 7. That's not too bad. John B. Martin for the 60. That's the Aston Martin.
And who's on Seb Priaulx's case? Is that Larry Holt?
I would think that it would be Larry Holt. Typically, as when the Mazdas are there, I don't know what it's like for the GT-only weekends.
Very, very good stuff. Jeremy?
Yeah, look at this battle here for the leaders. It's side by side on top of the circuit, and now settled down against this number 98 car race. Still ahead of Mark Wilkins. Look who's closing in on him. His partner Chase in 3rd place.
Yeah.
quickly from the South African, or now American, because he's naturalised American, now seems to settle forward in South Africa, racing South Africa, I should say. But what a battle for the TCR. Meanwhile, for second place, over there, Zephyr is holding on, and Bill Orbin was now just over 3 seconds, and Bill Orbin leads this race with 13 minutes remaining.
Yeah, this is looking good for Turner. First and third at the moment. By the way, Parker Chase closing in, as Jeremy said, and that incident at the top of the road a while back was investigated by race control, thanks to Shea, and I did scroll back to check on the race control, and there was contact between Parker Chase and Shelby Blackstone, shared responsibility for that, and so no penalties issued. So basically, in insurance terms, knock for knock. And we're just going to get on with pay for your own china, as we used to say when you knocked a cricket ball through somebody's greenhouse. So no further action required on that. I don't know where to look at the moment, to be quite honest, because we've got, as usual, a great battle in TCR. Once again, despite slight tweaks to VOP, the velocities are still ours to beat. Top three are all velocities. Jeff Westfall's in the mix there with the Audi, the number 39 car. And meantime, at the sharp end of the field, there's been something's gone on at the sharp end of the field, because I think we've got a new second place car. Yes, we have. Sebastian Prix has made a mistake into turn one. Did almost exactly the same thing as we saw Russell Walton at the start of the race. Left his brake a bit too late, ran out onto the grass, didn't go nearly as far off. So through has got Dylan Murray in the second. 3.4 seconds the gap between him and below leading. Robbie Foley goes, he is still in third, goes through into third, but he's now ahead of Sebastian Prix at Multimatic. So Sebastian just maybe running out of a little bit of brake, maybe a little bit of brakes on that car, not sure about that, but he just went so deep into turn one. Tiny little error, lost 2 places because of it.
He did, and now Joe Russell has worked his way past all the TCR cars during that lap three, basically leaving a little bit of gap between himself and Mark Wilkins. Mark Wilkins instead is getting into his mode, because only about half a dozen car lengths behind him is Parker Chase in third place. Those three Hyundais now well clear of everybody else in TCR.
So coming down to under 11 minutes to go before it all kicks off again. Let's try and square some of the circles and finish up some of the stories. We saw the Mia Motorsport in action. McLaren made a couple of pit stops in quick succession. That car back there. Shea Adam has this VP Racing Fuel pit lane report on that car.
From the highest of highs and winning at Road America to the lowest of lows at VIR, the day is done. Declaring mechanical failure for the number 3.
Does that mean like engine mechanical failure? I know that they were working pretty hard with the guys back in the UK earlier this week to get some updates and some help there. I'll let Shea do a little more digging on that. 3.9 seconds in the front of the field. Dylan Murray, Bill Oberlin battling it out. 2 drivers at opposite ends of their careers, perhaps. Although I don't see Bill Oberlin hanging up his race boots anytime soon. He's having far too much fun. Went to the top of the most winning standings in the top class of IMSA yesterday. 61. He stands proudly alone at the top of that table now. Robbie Foley's teammate. If it finished like this, Robbie Foley would somehow have to have a pull on the first and the third step of the podium. We've seen that before with Bernd Schneider for BM. Oh goodness, could be less BM, could he? Bernd Schneider for Mercedes-Benz in an endurance race. He was on 2 steps of the podium. I think it was more difficult with third, because I think he was second and third, so he couldn't actually stretch across both of the parts of the podium.
Sometimes hasn't been in the past. So it's all about to Bill Oberlin being the number 7 trying to the other series. He's champion in the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series. He currently ranks 7th in the all-time winning list on 15. He's tied at the moment with Terry Borcello and Eric Curran, and 15, the most wins shared by Billy Johnson and Matt Plum on 23. So with 8 minutes remaining, essentially he's looking at number 16, and that gap between first and second actually stretched out just a little bit now between Bill Oberlin and Dylan Murray, excuse me. He's got himself up into second place and ahead of Robbie Foley and Seb Prio.
I'm so pleased you did that, because every time I look at Dee Murray on there, in my head, before I actually see it, it's David. Little bit of trim flapping on the back of the leading car. It's just one of the inspection panels, I think, that's going to be causing a problem on that car.
I think it's helping, John, because Bill Oberlin a couple of laps ago set his fastest lap of the race, 54.0, not 54.05. This last lap was 54.2, so he's still absolutely flying out.
It's the chaparral moving aerodynamic device on the back, Jeremy. That's what it is. As it goes faster, of course, it flaps up and steers up, and as it slows down, it drops down and gives him a bit of extra aero at the back. I'm only kidding. Of course I am. But those of you with long memories will know what we're talking about there. And the air brakes on the old Mercedes SLRs that they used to run in endurance racing way back before mine and Jeremy's time. Meantime in TCR, believe me, Wilkins, Parker Chase is right on them now, right on them. Steven Simpson's dropped back about 15 seconds, and in fact he's just gone off again on that. I was just about to say, I wonder if he's had a problem to drop back that far, and he's now got a problem with the right front catching the bodywork. So has there been contact there? Simpson now has lost out on 4th position as John Morley and Matt Pombo has gone through.
I think the Audi was just struggling for tyre wear, John.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right, Jeremy. Out of 4th position, now dropping back to 7th in the space of half a lap. Bill Oberlin still at the front of the field. 4.1 seconds, the gap's not coming down to Dylan Murray. In traffic, number 40, PF Racing sitting behind the 2 leaders in TCR as they go across the line. Mark Wilkins, if anything's just dropped a little bit further back now. What if we get a bit of a draft as the PF Mustang goes through? Stick the car in behind Mark, see if you can get a wee bit of a run down towards the first corner. Danger time for the leader in TCR. This is believe me. Got to find a way, I think, of letting bright pink Mustang go through. Parker Chase right there on the second place car now. The leader has come away. What I believe he doesn't need is that Mustang trying to squeeze through on the climbing S's. Hasn't really got an opportunity to just lift out the air and let him go through. He's just going to have to stick to the racing line and hope that the PF Mustang doesn't do anything silly and try to get through.
Yeah, I mean, the Mustang is with anybody else at the moment, so I don't think he'd be too aggressive. Advantage on the Hyundai, but as you say, I think going up the hill here, the Hyundais are pretty fleet through these corners. I don't think it's too much aggravation in terms of loss of momentum. Starting again, it's Robin Liddell, who's up to 8th position now in that racing. It's about 4.7 seconds behind a big battle between number 57 and number 60, Carl Marcelli in the Aston Martin, who's just got away past the win with Mercedes of Phil Ellis on this lap 52 for Pigeon.
He's been Bill. He's doing what Bill does. When Bill needs to do that, he can do that. When he needs to charge, somehow he can lift the switch. Not everyone can do that, Jeremy. To be able to say, right, here's your lap time, here's your fuel numbers, get to the end from here, this is what you need from your tyres. And then if he does come under pressure, somehow he seems to be able to immediately just find another half a second of pace. And there was a little slide coming down the roller coaster there by the leader by the second of his car, TCR, Mark Wilkins. Parker Chase now with the GS cars having gone through for a moment. I thought he had a chance. And by the way, on the subject of drivers being on 2 steps of a podium, our producer in London, Rob Lomas, said I have to know Mark Brundle what started one car finished the other in a world sports honest one. First place for Derek Warwick and second for Theo Farby. Fantastic knowledge.
Yeah, it's happened several times in the Imperial Jaguar days. Very well remembered there.
Well, he's apparently he has just owned up to having read that recently in the book. So well done, Rob, for remembering that. Last 3 minutes. He now produces up to. Thanks, Rob. And we love you for it. Robert Curry being in London for us this weekend. Just in front of the battle for first and second, which has come back together in TCR. That first, second and third is that lead that basically we've had as a battery as the GS cars that were having their own battle have gone through. And now we've got all 3 of them coming out of turn 12 onto the back straight. That's the Oak Tree corner. And Parker Chase will be getting a bit of a drag here from the 2 cars ahead of him. Can he use that to get close? They're just not close enough for a shot and an outbreaking manoeuvre into the top of the hill at the top of the roller coaster. But who knows? Turn 1.
That Chevrolet of Robin Liddell, he's closing pretty much a second a lap on that on Phil Ellis, who's ahead of him now, just ahead of Phil Ellis, having made the pass to car Marcelli. So top 6 is not out of the offing here for Robin Liddell, despite that drive
through 32 seconds. I know. If you look at 32 seconds from where Robin is, he's only 22 seconds off the lead. And it's been green since then. It has been green since then. The way they pitted, remember they were the first ones to pit. So you've got to say it's been pretty tight. 6.5 to go.
2 more laps. Yeah, they've got the white flag this time.
Flag this time around.
Yes, he will.
He's got a fairly clear track ahead of him. Comes through the final corner now in the sunshine, late afternoon sunshine as it is. He's waving that on the start-finish line and on the Dennis and Tony. Flap, not the foxtail, but the inspection flag. And Bill Oldham, BMW, down to 3.2 seconds, with Dylan Berry having driven a very impressive sprint to get up to second place. Robbie Foley benefiting from the Turner Motorsport tactics to bring the 96 car afternoon really for Will Turner and the rest of the team. Fairly good as well for Brian Herder Autosport. Their cars are 1, 2 and if you will 3 in TCR. This Mark Wilkins and Parker Chase separated by what, a couple of seconds or thereabouts, but not within striking distance of each other. And Robbie Foley in third place, bonneted white hood of that second of the Turner cars, the 95 car will indeed. I presume, Jeremy, he only gets driver points for the best finish.
For the car he starts in. The car he starts in.
Right.
Autosport looking for its third consecutive TCR. We are
across the line. Last couple of seconds. Across the line. And is still to finish. There he goes in the background. So Bill Oberlin has indeed crossed the line. There's still a battle going on for second in TCR. Mark Wilkins and Parker Chase That isn't finished yet. This could be an orientated debrief if it all goes horribly wrong here. Checkered flag is out, confirmed. Bill Oberlin and Robbie Foley will win GS for Turner Motorsport. It is the number 35 who wins Riley AMG GT 470. And Robbie Foley and Vin Barletta is third in the 96 car. Prix in fourth place with Scott Maxwell. Didn't quite work out for them, their strategy. And in TCR, Brian Herder Motorsport, Hyundai Veloster N comes to the line. First 98, second 21, third 29. The finishing drivers missed Felipe, Mark Wilkins and Parker Chase with the Honda and Matt Pombo. 73 LA Honda World car breaking up the Honda domination in the sharp end of the field. Shelby Blackstock, by the way, who was off the circuit in that little clash with Parker Chase in the 6th position, had drive back for them as well. Well, Jeremy Shaw, what a run, what a weekend for Turner Motorsport. If you weren't watching yesterday, look away from the results now, but that is a delightful double for Foley and Oberlin. 3 podiums in 2 races on the same weekend for Robbie Foley, and 2 wins with Bill Oberlin and Turner Motorsport. That's not a bad weekend collection of trophies for Turner Motorsport.
Yeah, seriously impressive, isn't it? And what a great result for this team. This is the first win for Robbie Foley in the Michelin Pilot. Also the first podium finish there for Vin Barletta, whose previous best finish was a 6th place effort. In the overall, that win for Bill is win number 17. That puts him alone then in 7th place in the all-time win tally. Certainly tightened up the championship too.
Yes, absolutely. And in TCR, another steamroller of Hyundai Velosters and Brian Herder Autosport with Curb Argajanian filling out all 3 podium positions. The cars coming back into the pit lane now, and Jeremy quickly working out the points there. All unofficial for the moment, of course, in TCR, Jeremy. Hyundai have been the cars to beat this year, simple as that.
Yeah, they've absolutely been dominant, you're right. And in TCR, Harry Gottsacker and Mark Wilkins came into this race with a 5-point lead over Ryan Norman and Gavin Chavez. And those, of course, excursions have cost the Norman Chavez combination. So leaving here, that gap will have gone from 5 points to 11 between the first and second. But Mason Filippi and Michael Lewis, they will close up somewhat. So they'll be now only 7 points behind in second place.
And I think Shea Adam can speak to the second place, one of the second place drivers in the championship. Shea, have you got Michael?
I believe we have Michael Lewis, race winner at Virginia International Raceway. It was a Hyundai day today with all 3 of them, but ultimately that light blue one coming home in the first position. Michael, what's it like to get that the first step on the podium? I think we're having some trouble connecting to Michael. I know that the cell phone signal's a little bit spotty there. Can you hear us, Michael? Nope, we lost him.
Definitely heard him a moment or 2 ago. That will put them, as you heard there, up into second place in the championship. Well, and a race that started slightly inauspiciously. Jeremy Shaw with an early full course yellow. Not happiness for a number of people early on, and then a little broken up by the required intervention of the BMW X5M Performance safety car. But at the end there, we got a good long green flag run, exactly how we like it. And my goodness me, I know people tell me that 2 hours is not long enough to be a proper endurance race for strategy. We had every strategy you could possibly have had today at the sharp end of the field, certainly in GS.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? Absolutely superb race. And what a great result for Turner Motorsport. I mean, they've worked so hard. They've had little bits of bad luck in various aspects of this season. But what a weekend all around. 2 wins for Bill Auberlen. He's done this a bunch of times in the past, swept both of the major IMSA races on one weekend. Last time he did it, talked about a little while ago, was 2013 at Circuit of the Americas, sharing then with Paul Dell'Alana.
Oh, wow.
Did it also at Homestead in 2011 as well, also with the Canadians. So a great day, great weekend for Bill Auberlen.
And how does that affect the GS point standings, Jeremy? Again, all unofficial as we wind up what's been a super weekend at VIR. Only thing missing was the fans. We know we can't have that, but what great entertainment. Thank you, Corrigan and Connie Nyholm, of course, for putting on a great event. GS points unofficial as they stand then.
Yeah, unofficially, the race-winning car they didn't finish at Daytona, the first race of the season, so they're not yet in contention. So the new points leaders, by my reckoning, will be Jim Cox and Dylan Murray. They came in here third in points, 8 off the lead. They will leave here with 117 points to the 115 of the Aston Martin AMR Vantage team, and Nate Stacey and Carl Marcelli, who were second coming into points here. The previous leaders, Tyler McCory and Jeff Westphal, with a 12th place finish today. Really disappointing result for the car barn with Peregrine Racing Audi. They will have 112, so 5 points behind the new leaders Jim Cox and Dylan Murray.
Brilliant stuff, Jeremy and Shea. Jeremy joining me in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Shea Adam, our VP Pit and Paddock reporter, VP Racing Fuel Pit and Paddock reporter. The celebrations, I suggest, even in these difficult times, may go on quite some time at Turner Motorsport. 2 feature races, 2 victories for Bill Auberlen and Robbie Foley, and Robbie Foley has 3 podium trophies to take home from 2 races because of his shared driving with Finn Barletta today, who gets on the podium too. Thank you to VIR, especially to our colleagues at NASCAR Productions, for making sure we could see all around the circuit. It was Rob Lomas and Kez Cobb who were our London radio producers for IMSA Radio. Shea Adam and Jeremy Shaw joined me, John Hindhaugh. Hope you've enjoyed the weekend. Enjoy the rest of the weekend's motor racing action. There's a big race to finish in Indianapolis now, which we're going to all go and catch up on. But from VIR, from IMSA, and from the Michelin GT Challenge 2020, I'm John Hindhaugh saying thanks for being with us and enjoy the rest of your motor racing weekend. Bye-bye.